I have a plan, a master plan, to finally get something that I designed past the ultimate test, the wife approval. And not just that, I want it proudly displayed in our home, front and center, where everyone can see it. But that is not all. I'm going big. I'm making an epic wooden backdrop for it. Because what is a lamp without a stage? And what is a stage without wood? Okay, let me catch you up. Last year I made a cone lamp out of plywood. I thought it looked amazing. And so did apparently about 2,000 other people who downloaded the laser plans from my website. But do you know who didn't like it? That's right, my wife. So instead of glowing in our living room like the design icon that I imagined, it's been relegated to my office. Not as a proud centerpiece, but more like a corner of shame. Here is where it gets interesting. One of those 2,000 downloaders reached out with a twist. He didn't laser cut the laser files, he 3D printed them with transparent leaves. And then he sent me the pictures of the lamp. And I have to admit, it looked incredible. Transparent, elegant, and it solved the biggest complaint about my original lamp, that the wooden version trapped most of the light inside. Ouch. But then I had a bonus idea, a little revenge plan. You see, our freshly renovated living space has these whitish walls, which means a transparent lamp would just vanish completely. So if I'm going to make a white or transparent lamp, I'll need to give it a proper stage. So enter the wooden wall. My thinking was simple. She didn't like the wooden lamp? That's fine. I'm totally okay with that. I mean, I might even start talking to her again soon. But with this new non-wooden lamp comes an entire wooden wall art installation. How is that for a revenge? One slight problem though. I don't have a 3D printer or a wooden wall. At least not yet. Christmas is just around the corner, and guess who volunteered to host the entire family? That's right, me. I don't know what I was thinking, but now I got the perfect deadline to finish the lamp and the wooden wall. Nothing like the pressure of 12 relatives and a looming holiday feast to get you motivated, or at least started. The idea is simple. A centerpiece like this will make the space feel cozy, festive, and hopefully distract everyone from noticing anything else that I forgot to do. And if it doesn't, well, at least the wooden wall will help soak up the echo of my family's never-ending debates about Danish pastry and Danish oil. Whatever goes on this wall needs to tackle the noise, but it also has to look good. I've spent months browsing acoustic panels, and let me tell you, they are all variations of the same theme. Functional, but about as cozy as a corporate meeting room. I even toyed with the idea of cutting a world map out of acoustic foam, because why not distract people with geography when the food runs out? But let's be honest, this wall is destined to be more than just soundproofing. It is the backdrop to the lamp, the living room, and also my attempt to prove that I can design something wife approved. Down by the cabin I just stacked some firewood, and honestly I could stare at it all day. During my deep dive into acoustic research, I learned that most soundproofing works by combining uneven surfaces with a sound dampening material behind them. The goal is to trap sound waves so they don't bounce back out. My idea is to put acoustic panels on the wall and then cover them with a first layer of stacked firewood. Sound waves will either hit the jagged surface and die a quick death, or sneak in between the wood and get swallowed by the foam behind it. So, with the plan in motion, I ordered some acoustic foam and started chopping firewood. If anyone walked in, they would probably think that I was preparing for some kind of medieval winter, but in reality I was engineering a wall that could outsmart sound waves and maybe even my wife's skepticism. Then came the 3D printing bit. To pull this off, I needed to convert my 2D laser cutting files into 3D printing files, and of course get a 3D printer. But the first part turned out to be less intimidating than I expected, thanks to Ron, a hero in the Netherlands. Ron had downloaded the laser cutting files from my website and then casually wrote back to me and told me that he hadn't laser cut them at all. Instead, he 3D printed the lamp and figured out exactly how to do it. He even sent me his own step-by-step instructions and notes, and honestly, I think Ron deserves a medal. Or maybe even a lifetime supply of stroopwafels. So here's what he figured out. My original laser cut files were based on 6.4mm thick wood because, let's face it, that is what I had laying around. And Ron experimented with different thicknesses and landed on making the stretchers 2.9mm thick and the blades 1.9mm thick. He also pointed out that the Lightburn software has an automatic feature for resizing the slots, which sounded like magic to me. It is a bit more challenging to do it in Blender, which is what I've started using to learn 3D modeling. And by learn I mean clicking things at random until it either works or crashes. When I started researching 3D printers, I did what any maker would do. I called my friends who know more than me, and that is most of them. Drew from Woodworkers and Pierre, the Swedish maker, both pointed me towards the same printer, the Bambu Lab P1S. It seemed like the perfect choice for someone who had no idea what they were doing, but wanted to look like they did. So I took their advice and got one. Not long after, Bambu Lab themselves reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in partnering with them for this 3D cone lamp project. I said yes because, yeah, who doesn't love a company that supports awesome creators like my friends and sent them some awesome gear. So shout out to Bambu Lab for sponsoring this part of the video and for making me feel like I'm living in the future. Now let's talk about 3D printing. From the outside, it sounds impossibly complicated, like a hobby for people who moonlight as rocket scientists. But the P1S made it ridiculously easy to get started. From unboxing to my first print, it took less than 30 minutes. I was honestly blown away. It is packed with features that do all the hard work for you. Automatic filament detection, temperature adjustment, bed leveling, and even nozzle cleaning. It can even hold up to 4 different filaments and switch between them mid-print like it is showing off somehow. Here's the best part. You go from an idea on your screen to a physical real thing in your hands in about an hour. It is like watching magic happen, except it is science. And some plastic, but mostly magic. I think it's magic. My daughter came home for Christmas vacation and we decided to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. And if you haven't seen it, it is a completely bonkers movie about accessing alternate versions of yourself across multiple universes to combine all of your skills and powers. And by the end, I couldn't stop thinking, this is exactly how I feel about this machine. With 3D printing, I've unlocked a whole new universe of making, because shaping wood is mostly a subtraction game, chipping away at something until it becomes what you want, leaving behind a big pile of sawdust and wood chips. But 3D printing is the opposite. It's a precision addition game, layering material with almost no waste and building exactly what you need, one layer at a time. It is like borrowing the multiverse's most efficient version of yourself, just watching it work. Of course, there is one small catch. The machine can only be as smart as the person using it. And right now, my 3D modeling skills are less multiverse master and more like first timer fumbling through Blender. But that is okay. It is something I'll be working on all the winter, one layer at a time. I started stacking firewood in the living room just casually as one does. When my wife asked what I was doing, I told her it was for the winter and that I was just bringing it inside to acclimate. She gave me that look but didn't ask too many questions. I guess she figured if this is the weirdest thing he'll be doing this week, I can live with it. The next day she went off to work and that's when the real mission began. I got to work putting up the acoustic foam panels. The sticky pads that came with the panels, they were no good. Instead, I grabbed my trusty hot glue gun, because nothing says permanent but not really like hot glue. I mean, you can just rub it off again with your finger if you ever need to take it down. Not that I can think of any reason why that would ever be necessary. This wall is here to stay, I think. Maybe. While staring at the firewood wall, I noticed something. We had installed 3 ceiling spotlights perfectly aligned above it. And just like that, my inner interior designer woke up. I decided to divide the wall into 3 sections with 2 big rustic beams. Because why stop at stacking firewood when you can frame it like a gallery piece? I went scavenging and found some leftover slabs from an old sawmill job. Perfect. I fired up the sawmill and cut them down to size, and then I gave them a light sanding and cutting them to length so they didn't look like I dragged them straight out of the woods. Mounting them to the wall though was a bit more experimental. I started with some plywood spacer blocks, screwed those to the wall, and then attached the beams to the spacers with wood screws. Is this the correct way to mount beams on a wall? I have no idea. But I can tell you one thing, these things aren't going anywhere anytime soon. If the firewood falls, at least the beams will still be standing there. And speaking of everything everywhere all at once, that is exactly how my brain felt as I tried to juggle building the firewood wall and getting some printing done. Multitasking at its finest, or messiest. I remembered that PLA is supposed to be the easiest filament to work with, so I made sure to grab some of that. Easy, right? Not really. I decided to go with brass PLA for the structure of the lamp because, let's face it, brass makes everything look fancy. For the blades, I was stuck in an existential filament crisis. White or transparent? How transparent is transparent actually? And how much light does a thin white blade really let through? These are the questions that keep me up at night. My wife didn't want anything that looked like a completely glass-like cone lamp, so I hedged my bets and got both white PLA and transparent PC filament. Now, here is where things get interesting. Bambu Lab doesn't make transparent PLA, so I had to go with PC, that's short for polycarbonate, which, fun fact, is much trickier to print. And little did I know, this was the beginning of a series of filament adventures that would test my patience, my problem-solving skills, and my ability to resist yelling at objects. I started with a simple test. Print 1 blade in white and 1 in transparent to see how they looked, and the results weren't even close. The transparent blade was stunning, and the light shone through it beautifully, giving the whole design a modern, almost ethereal glow. The white blade, well, let's just say it was about as light passing as a brick wall. Transparent was the clear winner, pun absolutely intended. But here's the catch. Printing with polycarbonate PC is no walk in the park. The first print went well enough to lull me into a false sense of confidence. But after that, things went downhill fast. Prints started messing up, the nozzle got clogged, and for a beginner like me, troubleshooting felt like trying to fix a spaceship with a butter knife. I tried everything. Cold pulls to clean the nozzle, fiddling with the temperature, staring at the printer like it owed me money, nothing worked. After an entire day of frustration, I waved the white flag, ironically made of PLA, and decided to pivot. The blades could wait for now. I moved on to printing the lamp structure in brass PLA. At least with that, I had a fighting chance, and I really needed a win. Deep down, I knew the cone lamp wasn't going to pass the ultimate test, the wife approval, unless the blades were transparent. It was non-negotiable. So I began the hunt for transparent PLA like a man with a mission, and after sourcing local suppliers, I found a place nearby that had exactly 2 rolls in stock, and I didn't hesitate. I rushed out to grab them like they were the last loaves of bread before a snowstorm. And meanwhile, I kept working on the firewood wall, doing my best to act casual around my wife. But here is the thing about venturing into the wild world of filament shopping. It's a bit like online dating. You think you found the perfect match, only to discover it is a complete mismatch in person. The 2 rolls of transparent filament, they absolutely refused to cooperate. The automatic feeder system wouldn't take them, and even manual loading felt like trying to thread a needle in the dark, and my printer and the filament were simply not compatible. End of story. Back to square one. I hit the local Danish 3D printing shop and found some transparent PETG. The shop owner promised me it would be just as easy to print as PLA, and at this point I was skeptical of everything. But I decided to give it a shot because really, what is one more filament gamble in this multiverse of cone lamp chaos? While I kept stacking the firewood wall, the brass structure of the lamp was coming to life on the printers. After my epic showdown with Polycarbonate, I braced myself for a wave of troubleshooting, fully expecting every print to demand constant attention. But to my surprise, the PLA was like a dream. Zero issues, like none. It was like the printer and the filament were speaking the same language. A refreshing change from the Polycarbonate fiasco. The automatic feeder system, the AMS, became my new best friend, swapping spools mid-print like it was no big deal. If I wanted a multicolored print, it could just switch colors all on its own, which felt like cheating, but in the best possible way. And the best part, I could leave it running overnight. I did this a few times, and every morning felt like Christmas. I would walk in, half expecting a chaos, but instead there were the fine prints, perfect, clean and ready to go. No drama, no surprises, just quiet efficiency. Honestly, if the firewood wall were this cooperative, I would have been done days ago. Next, it was time to print the cone leaves with the transparent PETG. After my earlier filament trauma, I braced myself for another battle. But to my amazement, the printer standard settings worked perfectly. No tweaking, no troubleshooting, just smooth, transparent perfection. As the prints came together, my brain started buzzing with ideas. This 3D printer wasn't just a tool for lamp making, it is also a gateway to endless possibilities for my woodworking business. Imagine this: custom accessories for my tools, precision templates, clever connectors, or even mini models of projects before I commit to build them full size in wood. The more I thought about this, the more excited I got. Sure, I have always been hesitant about introducing more plastic into the world, but 3D printing feels different. The waste is minimal and the precision is unreal, and you only use exactly what you need. And plus, with new filament types popping up all the time, like biodegradable options, I can see this becoming the go-to way to make things instead of going to IKEA. Fingers crossed. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if 3D printing your own tools, furniture parts or even Christmas ornaments becomes the new normal. I'm already hooked for sure, and if you have been on the fence for adding a 3D printer to your shop or home, take it from me. It is a game changer. Check out the link to Bambu Lab in the description and get ready to open up your own multiverse of making. So my wife just left for work and it is Friday, the last Friday before Christmas. And the printers are printing the last leaves. The plan, the master plan to rule them all is simple. Finish printing, assemble the lamp, light it up, mount it in the ceiling, if you can do that, and wait. Wait for it to get dark outside. Wait for my wife and my daughter to come home, turn on the lamp, and wait for their reaction. Will it be awe and approval, or the silent but deadly "Why did you do this?" look? Stay tuned, because this could go either way. With this project, I feel like I have visited a multiverse version of myself. I have come back with the wisdom that not everything has to be made out of wood. Lamps should be transparent. They should reflect light, and sometimes they shouldn't look like they belong in a Viking longhouse. I need to write that down somewhere before I forget it. Note to self, not everything should be made out of wood. There it is. It's official. For now. They are home. Hey. It turns out that my wife and my daughter really love the transparent cone lamp against the wooden wall. If you're inspired to make your own cone lamp, the 3D printing plans are available for free. Just click the link in the description. And once again, a huge thanks to Ron from the Netherlands for sparking this whole adventure. You're the real MVP of this multiverse. Now that the living room is finally ready for the family Christmas party, I couldn't help but think we could use some new furniture. I have always dreamed of owning the iconic Arne Jacobsen egg chair. But hey, maybe, just maybe, I could make one out of pallet wood.